Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you the details about Android device enrollment options for Microsoft Intune. We are going to talk about the mobile device management scenario where you manage the whole device. Customers ask me this question quite often. What are the enrollment options and what are the differences between the enrollment options? So let me bring more clarity into this, and hopefully I'm going to answer your questions about the differences between device enrollment options for Android devices. First is this personally owned devices with work profile. This is the typical scenario for bring your own device, where users connect their personal phones or tablets to Microsoft Intune so that they can access corporate applications, services, and data. In this scenario, users download the company portal application from Google Play Store and sign in to the application with their corporate credentials. Then they go through a very simple wizard that walks them through the enrollment process. And when it ends, there is a new work profile created on their phones or tablets. That's the reason why it's called personally owned devices with work profile, because there is a new profile created on their devices. The devices itself are considered personal devices, so the devices are owned by the employees. There is just one dedicated sandboxed place for corporate applications, data, and services. This corporate space is isolated from the personal space or from the rest of the phone, so it's just isolated sandbox on top of the personal device. On the device, is displayed in the form of another profile. So users can then switch between work profile and personal profile. The device itself is their personal device, so they can manage, they can configure the device, they can do whatever they want with the device. They can install any application on the device because applications are automatically installed on the personal part of the device. That's completely under control of the employees. There is just one dedicated part that's corporate managed. There is another store in the work profile, and the work applications are installed from the work Google Play Store, from the managed store. There are advantages of this because the work profile is isolated. The data is also isolated, so users can have their personal data and personal applications in their personal profile that the organization is unable to manage or control, and their corporate data are completely isolated. The work profile can be also turned off, and that's something that I really liked when I was using Android for work, so that when it was Friday afternoon, I could turn off the work profile, which means that it switched off all notifications. It completely turned off the synchronization of the work profile. All applications there were, let's say, frozen. And then in the morning of Monday, I turned on the work profile and everything again started syncing. So I can enjoy the rest. I can enjoy the weekend or vacation with no Teams notifications, Outlook notifications, calendars, anything. It was completely silent. It was not syncing anything. And when I came back, I simply turned it on. It synced on the background and I could work as usual. So that's very beneficial. The only downside of this is that since the corporate applications are installed in the isolated space, the applications need to be installed potentially twice on the device. So if your users use, for instance, Microsoft Outlook on their personal profile for their personal email, then they need to install Microsoft Outlook again also on their work profile. Which means that the storage of the device is consumed twice for the applications that are installed twice on the device. It used to be a bit of a problem in the past when devices had smaller storage, but I think it's not the case any longer, because nowadays even quite cheap devices already have like 128 gigabytes of storage, so a few hundred of megabytes or a few gigabytes is typically not a big problem. So I see a lot of advantages when using this. This profile or this scenario doesn't require factory reset of the device. So users can onboard their phones or tablets on the fly without affecting their devices and the personal apps and personal data on the devices. The next scenario, corporate-owned dedicated devices, is used for dedicated devices with one specific purpose typically. Those can be tablets in your showroom, for example, where you just have one application continuously running. The important aspect is that these devices are not assigned to any user in the organization. Those devices are really corporate-owned, dedicated devices for one specific purpose, not used by end users for any productive work. The enrollment options here are either QR code, Google Zero Touch, Samsung Knox Mobile, NFC, or token enrollment. All of these enrollment options require factory reset. So for example, for the QR code enrollment, during the initial setup of the device, you tap the screen multiple times. It opens the QR reader on the phone and you scan QR code. And the QR code then enrolls the device to your tenant in this corporate-owned dedicated device management scenario. Google Zero Touch or Samsung Knox Mobile enrollment is for scenarios where you already purchased the device in this scenario. So from either Google authorized reseller in the Google Zero Touch enrollment program, or from Samsung authorized reseller if you want to leverage the Samsung Knox Mobile enrollment. The NFC enrollment works the way that you have an NFC tag and you simply place the NFC tag on the back of the phone during the initial setup screen, and it pairs the device with your tenant. The last option, enrollment using a token, is used in scenarios where you are unable to use any of the other options, because the QR code option is the most common recommended way. But if you are unable to use QR code or NFC enrollment, you can use a token. The token enrollment works the way that on the Google sign-in screen, you enter a special code instead of the Gmail account. So you enter AFW #setup, and that enrolls the device in the corporate management, fully managed device scenario. The third option, corporate-owned, fully managed user devices, are devices that are managed by the organization. So those devices are typically devices that are owned by the organization, so they're purchased by the organization, and are assigned to an end user. That means it's an end user device. User uses the device for work, and the device is fully managed by the organization. Even the device itself, the operating system, the system applications and services are fully managed by the organization. So you can control updates of the device. You can control even the system features such as the camera, GPS, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and so on. All of the applications and all of the data that are on those devices that are enrolled in this corporate-owned, fully managed user device mode are corporate-owned and corporate-managed. So everything that's on the phone is managed by the organization. The enrollment options for this scenario are the same as for the previous one. So you can either use a QR code, Google Zero Touch, Samsung Knox Mobile Enrollment, NFC, or a token. It again also requires factory reset of the device, so it's not possible to do it on any existing device. And these devices are considered as work devices only. So this is the scenario, or this is the profile that you would use for devices that you want your users to use for work only and no personal use. If you want to allow personal use as well, that's the last profile that you can use. Corporate-owned corporate-owned devices with work profile. The difference between the last two is that the last scenario with work profile allows users to also install their personal applications and personal data on the device. So the device itself again is managed, so it's a fully managed device that's owned by the company. You have full control over the device and the operating system. There is just an isolated space for personal applications and personal data. The enrollment options are again the same. So you can use a QR code, which is the recommended way, or you can do zero touch enrollment via either Google Zero Touch or Samsung Knox Mobile Enrollment. You can use NFC for enrollment, or you can use a token if none of the other options is available. Factory reset is again required, and this is one of the most common scenarios actually for work devices. So to summarize it, if you want to allow end users to use their personal devices for work, you would go with the first option, which is personally owned devices with work profile. Users install the company portal application, they sign in to the application with their work account, and then it creates a work profile on their devices that is fully managed with corporate applications and corporate data, but it's still their personal device that they have under their own control. You as a company control only the work profile and the data and applications on the work profile. Then it depends if you want to allow users to use the provided Android devices also for personal use, or you want to enforce only corporate use. So if only corporate use is allowed, then you would go with this corporate-owned fully managed user devices where no personal applications or data are allowed and everything is under control of the organization. Or if you want to allow users to use the devices also for their personal use, you would go with the last option of corporate-owned devices with work profile, where the device itself is fully managed, but there is a dedicated personal space for their personal applications and personal data. Let me just quickly show you one last thing, and that's how you create actually the enrollment profile. And it's the same for all of these three scenarios. So I will show you this one. But like I said, it's the same for all other three corporate-owned scenarios. You would create a new profile here. You just name the profile. So I would say dedicated devices. You choose the token type, which in this case will be corporate-owned dedicated device, which is the default. and you choose the token expiration. Click next, create, and it creates a new profile that you can start using. If you open the profile and go to token, click show token, and here you see the QR code and token that you can use for enrollment. So like I mentioned previously, the recommended way is QR code enrollment, and this is the QR code that you would use for the QR enrollment scenario for this corporate owned dedicated devices in this example. But like I said, it works the same for the other two corporate owned devices. So same, exactly the same for corporate owned fully managed user devices, and exactly the same for corporate owned devices with work profile. That's all from my side. I hope you liked it. I hope I brought more clarity into the different Android enrollment options. If you have any questions or comments, please leave me a note. If you like the video, please share it with your peers, with your partners, with your customers, and I will see you next time.